Wounded and confused, a young man opened his eyes to see himself lost among strangers in a strange, futuristic hall. A deafening roar battered his ears as his confusion deepened with every second, revealing a vast, empty room filled with dozens of frightened strangers that left him breathless. Surrounded by strangers, his mind raced between the terrifying thought of kidnapping and the possibility that he was just dreaming. Suddenly, a sharp pain stabbed through his head and dragged a forgotten memory back to the surface, bringing back the strange letter he had received through the fog of pain. His mind wandered back to Jai Olin, a fresh graduate with no job in sight. Instead of a regular job, he lived as a legendary pro gamer who was the undisputed king of power leveling. He conquered the digital realm one victory after another, working day and night to earn his fortune. He leaned back in his messy room and finally took a quick break now that the job was done. During that short break, he mindlessly scrolled through his phone, completely unaware of what was about to happen. The image of a smiling couple on the screen made him realize what he was missing, bringing back his dad's harsh words that had pushed him to move out and live alone. He was ready to show what he was made of, but he never saw what waiting for that choice would bring. Late that night, a shadowy delivery man appeared at Jai Olin's door with a mysterious package. As soon as he opened the letter, a dark force burst out and pulled him into a swirling blue storm that revealed his acceptance to Dawn Academy and shot him away instantly. In the blink of an eye, the energy vanished and all that remained was the letter, finding Jai Olin in a strange new place where he couldn't tell if this was some twisted joke or not. A voice cut through his confusion as a smug man stepped over him, mocking his slow wake-up, while other freshmen panicked and shouted about being kidnapped, only for their captor to laugh and unleash a terrifying wave of purple energy from his sword to crush their fear with brutal power before ordering absolute silence. The new students froze in place while the man grumbled about the admissions department's bad choices, his frustration clear as he faced the same fools every single year. The instructor's mean words bounced off the walls as he yelled at someone for wasting his time. After introducing the academy as a special world for the chosen few and revealing that immortality awaited the successful, the advisor sent the stunned students into strange pods for evaluation, only to find the first one receiving a cold, disappointing look. The next recruit did slightly better, yet his score was still far from impressive. As the results kept getting worse, the evaluator loudly complained about how bad the new recruits were. Finally, it was the boy's turn to step into the machine with a blank face, but the scan went on way too long until a bead of sweat rolled down his temple, making the evaluator grin as he realized this kid was different. Finally, the system beeped to say it was done, and the boy let out a quiet breath of relief, only to widen his eyes in shock when the results showed that Zealand's stats were impossibly low across the board. The instructor stared in shock at the terrible 9-point score, shaking his head in disbelief that such a low mark had ever been recorded. Called a failure by his time, Zealand burned with anger, wishing they'd just send him home. And as the instructor's hope died and expectations crumbled under the result, that final dismissive remark left the boy alone in the dark, stirring up a flood of memories from everyone who had ever called him worthless. A bitter grin crossed his face as he thought of a life that was ruined over and over again by that one word. Even though a fresh start waited for him, he couldn't relax his fist because the old labels still held on too tight. The instructor held up an ID plate and warned that taking the test was like suicide. So, without even thinking twice, the man threw the plate away and walked away with his only chance gone. But in a flash, Zealand leaped forward to catch the golden plate, proving that his path was his own, not something decided by how many people stood around him. Amused by the boy's stubborn fight, the man grinned as he waited for reality to break his spirit, while a woman with purple hair nearby caught their words and started wondering what gifted really meant. The instructor sneered, dismissing the truly gifted as just lucky people who were born with greatness waiting for them. He turned to warn them to just survive the test, but a woman with long black hair stepped up to challenge the academy's big promises. After fixing her glasses, she asked how much such amazing power cost, and the instructor told her name was Gu Ziyu, noted her as the student with the best stats, and explained the school's money. She gave a quiet nod, accepting the harsh reality of the world they had found themselves in. Another student stared in shock, seeing that she was their best hope. The instructor showed everyone how to open their personal status screens. After that order, Zealand stared at his golden ID plate and brought the system to life. His stats flashed on the screen, revealing a chilling rule. Every single death would steal 10 years from his life. Panic spread quickly as the other students realized their lives were now hanging in the balance. While everyone else screamed in terror, a strange quietness spread across Zealand's face. Suddenly, a bright warning popped up on his screen to tell him he had just discovered a new secret power. He stood frozen in shock, too stunned to believe that someone he had treated so badly could hold something so amazing, and his mind nearly stopped from the sheer surprise of it all. Zealand cast a worried look around, unsure if he was the only one hearing the system's message. The screen displayed a completely new talent with no match in the entire database. His knack for copying things not only let him mimic others perfectly, but also made him learn twice as fast. With a firm look and a faint grin, he named his new power Top Student, just as the system finished its final check, only for the screen to flash with an astonishing SS rank talent that even the instructor couldn't spot, leaving Zealand to smile confidently as he realized this hidden strength could be his greatest advantage. Far away, another student shattered under the weight of his brief life, paralyzed by the fear that a single mistake would kill him on the spot. The instructor just hit him on the head and told him to think for himself. He said in a cold voice that with only 4 years left, any punishment would mean immediate death. Then he added that in this place, how long you live was your currency for buying power and things you need, leaving the terrified student completely shaken by that cruel reality, while the advisor insisted the academy offered strength and knowledge to change their destiny. He promised them riches, longer lives, and even immortality, but the purple-haired woman wondered if this magic worked everywhere, and the man confirmed that as long as they stayed on Earth, this rule would hold true. After finishing his talk, the instructor quieted the crowd and announced that the entrance test would start immediately. He told everyone to stay put, snapped his fingers to begin, and a system voice counted down for teleportation while the number 3 appeared, leaving the students tense and ready for whatever was about to happen. The number fell to 2, and Zealand stared ahead with a sharp, concentrated look. Suddenly, a swirling whirlpool of purple light engulfed the whole group and whisked them away. Sitting alone in the empty hall, the instructor grumbled about how unlucky he was with this year's new recruits. His frustration turned into wild laughter that filled the room until old Chin arrived to snap him out of it, only for Chin to get more annoyed as the newcomer bragged about his gifted students and a genius with 40 attribute points, scoffing at the idea of double S talents before suddenly teleporting the new recruits into a stinky goblin nest. Zealand can't stand the awful smell, so he gags and slaps his hand over his mouth. Suddenly, a glowing screen pops up in front of him to show the test details. You must escape, and if you want, you can even hunt goblins for extra points. Every new student gets a surprise starter pack with 1 random weapon. A key message appears, confirming that this test comes with no death penalty. When the other recruits learn they won't lose more time, they cheer with relief. Zio Lin grabs his beginner staff, which instantly unlocks a new skill, and as he realizes this system works just like his favorite games, a determined spark lights up his eyes. He pours dark, purple magic into his staff's crystal, slams it into the ground, and sends out a huge shockwave that splits the earth apart. He finds out that just swinging the weapon earns him experience points, but since his magic energy is too low, he can't depend on spells. With his special SS rank talent, his skills will grow at double the speed of everyone else's. But a sudden sharp pain snaps him back to reality, reminding him his body has reached its breaking point. His weak numbers show his mana is too low to cast many spells, while nearby another student finds a great sword skill and plans to level up before starting the quest. While others fear the time limit will stop them from grinding, Zio Lin spots a chance to turn his talent into a weapon by finding a physical tool to use it. So he walks up to the top recruit, Guzio, to swap weapons. But after thinking it over, he realizes that using a dagger drains less mental power than a staff, making it a better fit for her while the staff isn't right for him. He wonders if the trade is really worth it. After he takes the trade, he hands over his staff while warning about the need for good aim, and in return he gets a beginner dagger that instantly unlocks a new mastery skill. He realizes fast that to pass this test, he needs to find a team. She wears a warm smile as she walks up to Guzio and asks him to team up with her. Suddenly, a giant man with a massive sword steps forward and makes the exact same offer. He boasts of his powerful stats and insists he's the perfect partner, dismissing the other guy as just a pretty face and claiming he's the safer bet if you want to survive. Guzio just turns her cold, unreadable face toward him. His offer is met with silence while nearby students whisper and laugh at how fast he gets shut down, so his embarrassment quickly turns to anger and his face twists in rage. He fixes a harsh glare on Zio Lin, grabs the boy by his shirt, and aggressively demands to know what he's looking at before hurling insults at his terrible stats, calling him worthless trash who can't even understand weapons. But Zio Lin calmly explains that passing this test requires more than just raw strength. Enraged by the answer, the brute squeezes tighter and makes it clear he's going to show him who's boss. A small smile touches Zio Lin's face as he ignores the danger, calmly telling the bully that their chance is gone just as a snarling goblin drops from above to land right behind the distracted brute. The big student barely stops a goblin before cursing himself for being so careless. Suddenly, another goblin lunges in with claws out, catching him totally off guard. With a fierce roar, he swings his huge sword in a last-ditch fight. Standing over the lifeless body, he admits the surprise attack almost killed him. He turned to Zio Lin and accused him of laughing at his struggle, but his anger froze instantly as he spotted dozens of glowing eyes watching from the shadows. Before you know it, a massive crowd of goblins burst from the trees to crush them. Fear spreads through the new students as they scream at the impossible numbers of monsters, who are now launching a violent attack while a girl with purple hair swings her sword wildly to hold them back. And nearby, another student is brutally slashed across the chest by a goblin's claws. He hits the floor and finds himself trapped in a circle of growling green monsters. Zio Lin blocks a deadly blow, feeling the real weight of life and death, while a goblin seizes another student, burning her with its awful stench, and Gu Zio stands firm as her staff crackles with purple lightning before a goblin's claw touches him, shocking Zio Lin as the recruits around him fall, proving this is no game. One student spots a safe spot and yells for everyone to run into the nearby cave, so Zio Lin pushes past others to fight his way to shelter, knowing it will buy them time, but feeling deep down that the real fight is just starting. A timer above them confirms his worst fear that their shield is fading, so he steadies his grip on the dagger, refusing to wait for death and instead swinging it wildly just as a system notice pops up, revealing that mastering his weapon is the only way to survive his low stats. With just 2 minutes left, fear grips the group as the cave's shield fades, and others scream in despair. Sure, they can't beat monsters that move so fast. Meanwhile, Gu Zio sits calmly against the wall, watching the chaos with a face that shows nothing. Her gaze lands on Zio Lin, who ignores the chaos around him and keeps swinging without stopping. His body is drenched in sweat and pushed way past its limits, racing against the clock to survive until time runs out. Gu Zio sneers at Zio Lin, telling him his hard work is pointless since he'd only gain a level in an hour. Even though he tries to use logic, a hard look remains in his eyes while sweat rolls down his tired face. Seeing how sharp she was, he listened as she confirmed that climbing to level 2 would take about an hour. A confident grin spreads across his face as he recalls the secret edge he holds. With his special service rank talent, he's just 2 points shy of unlocking his dagger mastery. He thanks her for the warning and changes the topic to ask what she knows about the goblins. She looked a bit taken aback that he'd caught her sneaking peeks at the enemies outside. After a brief and awkward chat about games, they shift to discussing survival, and Zio Lin explains that the goblins are weak and can be defeated by striking their heads or hearts. Gazing at the terrified survivors, he realizes that fear is the real enemy in this test. As soon as that spark of courage fades, all hope for winning vanishes, leaving only deep despair in its wake. With just 2 minutes left to hold the line, Gu Zio shouts that it's time to go. But right then, the bully Wang Dalan steps in front of them and asks what they're up to. He reaches for Gu Zio, dragging her to his side while brushing Zio Lin aside like useless trash for holding her back. She shows that the true aim isn't just to run away, but to find and kill the Goblin King. The big student immediately scoffs at the idea, yelling that the Goblin King is part of a side quest way too hard for them to take on. Zio Lin calmly points out that since this quest exists, something must be triggering it, perhaps tied to how many goblins they've killed. Gu Zio nods and says that killing enough enemies is the only way to make the boss show up. So Zio Lin smiles with total confidence that hitting that kill count will definitely summon the king. Another student speaks up, scared, and asking why we should risk fighting a boss when even the tiny goblins are already deadly enough. Zio Lin replies that since there's no death penalty, this high reward with zero risk is something they simply cannot ignore. He argues strongly that this is their only real chance to earn credits and change their fate, so he begs them to take the risk. His words hit home, making everyone see that they'd better take a chance now, since the cave's safety won't hold forever. The bully laughs off Zio Lin's plan, shouting that everyone should listen to him because he started with better stats. Gu Zio calmly silences his boasting by saying his score of 32 is just average, then drops a single number, 46, to show her own overwhelming power. After that, she gives the bully one cold command: shut up. Frozen in silence, the brute can only stare while his classmates watch him crumble in pure embarrassment. Zio Lin froze in shock, realizing her power was more than 5 times his, leaving him feeling painfully weak next to her. Gu Ziyu takes charge and declares that anyone seeking rewards must follow her lead if they want to succeed. He steps forward to lead the group, telling the strong fighter to stand at the front and block the goblins like a shield. So she orders the archers to break into smaller groups and guard the back of the fight by shooting from a distance. As her gaze lands on Zio Lin and she hands him a spot in the new group, he takes it instantly, while already thinking about taking out the tired foes to make up for his weak numbers. With the plan set, the students pack up and step out of the safe cave to face the horde waiting outside. The giant tank roars into the fray, swinging his massive sword at the monsters while the archers lift their bows behind him to fire. Their arrows fly true and strike several goblins, yet the monsters keep charging ahead, refusing to slow down. But one monster slips past the attack and leaps at the purple-haired archer with its claws out. Just as the strike comes, Zio Lin steps in with his blade ready, slashing down to drop the goblin and score his first kill in the test. He explains how he saves energy to land only the final blow, then puts that trick to work again, quickly finishing off the second goblin with sharp timing. As he slices through the battlefield with surprising ease, a third enemy falls, then a fourth, showing that his strange way of fighting works with terrifying speed. The strong student immediately makes fun of Zealin, calling him lazy for taking easy kills from monsters that are already weak. But Gu Ziyu sees the real truth, guesses where they'll move next, and slips right through their blind spots. A system message pops up to tell him that his basic dagger skills are now level 2, a boost he earned from 2 months of intense practice in a full immersion VR game. He gives a confident grin, taps on a glowing screen, and gets ready for what comes next. As a system reward pops up to unlock his new heavy strike skill, purple energy starts swirling around him. Thrilled by his upgrade and new power, he sees that just one goblin stands between him and finishing the quest. As he pins down the last goblin, his dagger begins to glow with power, ready to strike the final blow. Then he plunges the blade down to kill the last monster needed, finishing his first extra quest. Now that the quest is done, he leans the dagger on his shoulder and finally looks happy. Suddenly, the goblins fighting the students vanished into a swirl of blue sparkles. A big student shouts in confusion and demands to know what is happening. But right then a system broadcast announces that a secret condition has been met and a boss has been activated, causing a giant shadow to fall from the sky and crash into the forest with such force that the Goblin King, a monstrous creature much taller than the lone Zealin, rises from the trees. The huge Goblin King snarls, his glowing eyes showing his scary power, and when he lets out a loud roar that shakes the ground and shoots out a wave of green energy, he stands right in front of them as the big boss. The other students screamed in pain and clutched their ears, terrified that the booming sound would rip them apart. The blast shook her, leaving the purple-haired archer frozen in fear, staring at the scene she could not believe. Zealin and Gu Ziyu stood their ground, staring at the new danger with serious, focused eyes. Right in front of them stood the dungeon boss, and its huge health bar proved their worst fear was real. Up close, the creature's glowing eyes showed that a terrible fight was coming. Zealin spots that all the small goblins have vanished, and now only the king stands there. Panic ripples through the crowd as they stare at the health bar stretching on forever, sure now that winning is impossible. That terror snaps one student so badly that he screams he's finished and bolts for his life while Zealin yells after him. Zealin shouts a warning about the goblin's blind spots, but the beast answers with a silent threat, its sharp teeth bared while its other deadly senses stay sharp. Their ears and noses are so good at picking up sounds and smells that sneaking around is pointless. The student's terrified screams snap the Goblin King's gaze right to him, just as Zealin had said it would. Even the mighty Wang Dalin stares in horror, sweat streaming down his face as he realizes the fatal error he has made. Wang Dalin shouts to rally his team, claiming their numbers are enough to take down the monster. He roars and lunges forward, smashing his huge sword down onto the monster's head. The Goblin King's eye held no fear, only a cold smile, as he caught the blade with one hand, stopped the attack right there, and punched the ground so hard it cracked beneath them. The brute flies back, screaming as he smashes into the rock wall and shatters into blue sparks while the other students stand frozen in horror. Panic sweeps through the crowd when they see their mightiest warrior fall to one strike, and screams erupt demanding everyone to run. One student lets out a final, last cry as he tries to run away from the killing, but he just manages to get stuck under the giant monster's foot. With a mighty club raised, the beast prepares to crush the escaping survivors, then swings wildly to send another student flying. She crashes down onto the ground and looks up in sheer horror as the monster readies itself to finish her. Suddenly, a flash of purple energy hits the creature's arm and halts its strike. The Goblin King looks down at its smoking arm just as its health bar finally pops up for the first time. Gu Xiaoyu's face twists with frustration as her magic spell barely grazes the massive target. She quickly realizes that hitting the arms and legs won't work, so she knows she must aim for the vital spots. She remembered her plan: let the others hold their ground while she struck from afar. But now that their lines have fallen apart, that whole plan is no good. She gazes up at the monster's giant leg, realizes her perfect plan has crumbled against this cruel reality, and admits she was wrong. A sudden shout from Shaolin snaps her out of her thoughts and tells her to run for her life. Just then, he leaps forward, his glowing blade slicing through the air to catch the king's crushing blow right before it hits. The monster's eyes burst into anger as it roars in rage at this sudden fight back. Then, with a furious roar, it smashed its huge club right down onto the spot where Shaolin had just been standing. As Shaolin catches his breath, he realizes the Goblin King always goes after whoever is nearest to him. He then shouts to the archer to draw the monster's fire while staying safe from afar. Even though she was scared at first, the girl with purple hair took a deep breath to calm her shaking hands and decided to trust his plan. He then turns to Gu Xiaoyu and tells her that her magic is the secret to slowly chipping away at the monster's strength. As the new plan kicks off, the archer lifts her bow just as Gu Xiaoyu pulls in a huge burst of magical power. Gu Xiaoyu's powerful blasts crash into the Goblin King, who retaliates with a smashing club, but Shaolin urges her to keep pushing because their combined attacks are finally working. Furious from all the attacks, the Goblin King lets out a roar that shakes the very air. Its giant hands grab the glowing spears stuck in its chest, ready to fight back. A violent surge of green energy explodes from its body, shattering the magical shots and hurling the purple-haired girl backward, causing Shaolin to reach out desperately to catch her. But the Goblin King stands there, hurt but not defeated, still waiting for them. With Shaolin and Gu Xiaoyu standing alone against a monstrous boss, she wonders if they have any chance now that all the other students are gone. So Shaolin quickly checks their situation and asks how much mana she has left for attacking. She speaks with a dark look and says she can take just 2 more shots before she's had enough. He says to aim for the head if she wants the biggest hit, but she admits the beast is moving too fast for her to land a proper strike. Shaolin grins with confidence, promising that he'll make the monster stay still for her. Then, in a flash of blue light, he triggers his special ability, Top Student. He instantly spots the boss's move and unleashes a mighty shockwave that knocks everyone back. Recalling how everyone once treated him like trash, he plants his foot into the ground with fresh strength. A system message confirms he has copied the shockwave skill and claimed the battlefield as his own. Then a sharp look fills his face as purple energy sparks from his eyes while he readies himself to act. As the Goblin King raises his club to strike again, Shaolin charges right at him to meet the blow. He notices that the boss's method takes forever to prepare, but the trick he stole can be done in a flash. He activates his own shockwave to stand against the monster's crushing attack. He times his move perfectly, smashing his blade into the king's falling fist to stop the monster's shockwave, proving his risky idea right and finding a big weakness in its defense. Even though he tries to catch his breath, he squeezes his grip on his sword tighter, knowing the fight isn't over yet. But the monster bounces back fast, and his copied skill is locked out for 30 seconds. Just as the king tries to unleash another deadly attack, he gets hit by a blast of purple energy that leaves him wide open, while Gu Xiaoyu stands stunned with only 1 shot left, trying to figure out how he stopped the monster. The Goblin King stumbles back, clearly surprised by Shaolin's shocking move. The system warning shows that he copied the boss's shockwave skill, which is now on a 16-second cooldown, just as the beast lifts a giant boulder to trap Shaolin, knowing there is no way to escape. A wild grin spreads across his face as he chooses a wild answer. Instead of running away, he stands his ground and lets the crushing blow hit him right in the face. Gu Xiaoyu screams in terror as she sees the giant rock smashing down on him. As the dust settles, he stands battered but breathing, having somehow weathered a direct hit, while the monster roars again and he realizes his copied power only works when they are touching. To make a strike land, he has to get dangerously close, so he charges right into the beast's personal space. He waits for the perfect second, staring hard at the timer counting down. Then, he lets out a wild roar and unleashes his power the exact moment the skill is ready to go again. The system gave the green light to activate his copied skill, the shockwave. Suddenly, a fierce blast of purple power shoots from his sword and hits the Goblin King dead on. Though exhausted from the fight, he yells for Gu Xiaoyu to take her one final, crucial shot. Gu Xiaoyu fires her last, most powerful magic spell right into the Goblin King's face. The monster's head shatters into tiny bits of light, and its health bar vanishes from the screen. The system beep tells the Goblin King is dead, and the second quest is done. So tired but happy, Xiaolin looks down at Gu Xiaoyu and sighs in relief that the fight is finally over. But the strain suddenly catches up to him, and he collapses while muttering about the safe zone quest, forcing her to catch him before he hits the ground. As she glances at the portal timer and realizes they won't make it back in time, dread takes hold of her while inside the high-tech briefing room. The academy instructors quietly review the freshman test results. The head of admissions flips through the grades to reveal that an incredible 15 students earned the top S rank this year. The news of the S rank requirement shocks the other instructors, leading some to brag about their classes, but the admissions head confirms that 13 gifted students have been accepted, the best group seen in 10 years. One teacher slumped back in his chair and grumbled that his class was the only one without a single gifted student. Even so, the admissions head tells him that his class still managed to break 2 school records. He then pulls out the first record, showing that 2 ordinary students from his class earned top-tier S ranks. Back in a high-tech briefing room, the official keeps talking about the entrance exam scores and reveals that a new academy record has been set for the lowest combined attributes ever recorded. The story shows pictures of Xiaolin and Gu Xiaoyu, 2 students from the same class who couldn't be more different. As Xiaolin wakes up, he is stunned to find that he is alive and completely healed after the test. A screen pops up showing his S rank and showers him with a massive pile of credits and points. His eyes drift to Gu Xiaoyu, and he finally gets it. She must have carried him to safety after he fell. Then, the purple-haired archer from the dungeon suddenly waves cheerfully and calls out to them, thanking them over and over for helping her climb the ranks, only to reveal that the boss had already killed her, so she asks if they really defeated the king. Xiaolin grins confidently and confirms their victory, leaving her stunned, while nearby, student reacts with open scorn and refuses to be impressed. He scoffs at the outcome, saying it was just dumb luck and that Xiaolin only stayed alive because she was hanging on to Gu Xiaoyu. Gu Xiaoyu ignores the complaining student, walks over to Xiaolin, and asks for a private talk about the battle. They move to a quiet corner where Xiaolin thanks her for the rescue, but she coolly calls it a business deal, admitting his interruption was the only reason she could land the final blow. He stands frozen in shock as he realizes she calculated every single moment of the fight. Gu Xiaoyu asks how he managed to interrupt the boss when it should have been impossible, but after she promises to keep his secret and receives only a quiet thank you from Xiaolin, she changes the subject to becoming friends through the system's chat function, showing him how to open the message window with just a thought. Taking her lead, they both reach out with their minds to wake up the systems built into them. A glowing screen pops up to show his stats, and she asks for his student ID so she can send a request. Soon, a friend request from Gu Xiaoyu pops up on his screen. He doesn't even hesitate. He taps the glowing accept button, and right away, the screen flashes to show their new link is working. Suddenly, a gruff instructor yells for all the E-rank students to gather right away, shoving the rest aside and pointing them toward the big field in the middle. His sharp eyes lock on his Xiaolin and Gu Xiaoyu, pulling them from the crowd while a blue-haired official whispers to the girl, leaving Xiaolin to study a glowing map and wonder if she was summoned for a low E rank or something more. As he steps onto the vast field, he sees a sea of students already gathering, and shortly after Gu Xiaoyu arrives to tell him she kept their secret safe. Suddenly, a sharp shout cuts through the noise, telling everyone to get out of the way. A loud and imposing group of older students steps forward and pushes the new kids into their lines. A blue-haired leader with a glowing crystal steps forward to welcome them as the student council president, but his words are cut short by a terrifying roar from above as something crashes down from the sky. A huge purple dragon with shining wings dives straight down toward the school. Xiaolin freezes in shock, staring up at the living dragon hovering right above them. Its mouth full of sharp teeth opened wide in a scary roar. Its bright eyes looked like they wanted to destroy everything. He stands frozen, unable to move as the dragon's heavy presence crushes him. Gu Xiaoyu freezes where she stands, instantly seized by a deep, paralyzing fear. A huge purple dragon touched down on the field with a white-haired man on its back, who casually apologized for the big entrance by saying he had other things to do. The huge figure turns out to be the principal of Dawn Academy, who almost missed the ceremony, and as an instructor steps forward, Riley jokes that the entrance was a bit too dramatic. But the principal angrily refuses to believe he was showing off, clearly irritated by the thought, and insists he was only short on time, even threatening to turn his dragon into a sofa. Sitting in the crowd, Xiaolin finally spots the one person who can truly see his special gift. The principal speaks to the students, praising their exam skills while scanning the crowd like a judge until his eyes lock on Xiaolin, who flinches under that sudden, intense focus. With a quick tap of his staff, the principal casts a spell that makes everyone's voices boom across the whole field. He gets ready to speak, blaming the admissions office for the creepy way students were woken up, and then announces a new rule to keep acceptance letters coming only during the day, so no bad luck can strike. The old teacher's face turned serious as he prepared to answer the two questions that had everyone thinking hard. With his arms spread wide, he dramatically reveals their true purpose. They're colonizers heading to planet Norma, a dangerous new world teeming with monstrous beasts, where Dawn Academy trains them to become elite warriors who will fight to seize it for humanity. The principal's booming voice echoes across the entire stadium, telling students that their normal lives ended the moment they opened their letters and that what lies ahead is far greater than anything they knew, with some destined to lead armies, to conquer new lands, and others to become powerful masters who can unlock hidden secrets and control nature itself. He promises that a few brave souls might climb so high they could change the very rules of a brand new world, offering strength, knowledge, power, and even eternal life with a dramatic wave toward the dragon behind him, declaring that everything this new world holds will soon be within their reach before announcing a shocking new rule. For the first time in history, freshmen are allowed to enter early, ending the long-standing ban that kept them out. He shouts that the top 3 students get to go first, which instantly upsets the student council president, who jumps up to say it's too dangerous for the new kids. But the principal won't let him keep going, stopping him with one hard stare. The president immediately steps back, sweating as he quickly admits he spoke out of turn, and the principal happily ends the assembly right there. Xiaolin watches the whole thing carefully and sees how strong the president's reaction was, so he starts to quietly think the new rule might be hiding some danger. So, he doesn't let that thought keep him down for long, but instead he turns his mind to how he can use the academy to get stronger. Right as he's about to walk away, Instructor Qin Xian shouts to stop him, explaining that academy rules make the top test taker the class monitor, and since Gu Xiaoya quit, that spot now belongs to Xiaolin. Qin points out that the monitor role comes with extra credits, special perks, and better access to resources that can help anyone stuck at the bottom, but he also explains that this job will be passed on after 3 months, once the big exam is done. Suddenly, a holographic message pops up before Xiaolin, telling him that Instructor Qin Xian has just named him the acting class monitor for freshman year class 7. As Qin reminds him to check the extra manual before heading back to the dorms, Xiaolin walks with his mind racing over what those special privileges really mean, only to have his day take a sharp turn when the receptionist's friendly mood vanishes the instant she verifies his ID. As soon as she finds out he's the class monitor, she can't hide her shocked and thrilled smile. And even when he tries to downplay it by saying he's just acting, she insists that no regular student would hold that role before introducing herself as Zhang Tingting and eagerly offering to help him gather supplies and pick out a room. As she hands him a green freshman uniform and casually notes that sophomores wear blue, she speaks to him with a newfound comfort. She walks him to his own private room, a special space just for class monitors unlike the shared rooms regular freshmen get, and Xiaolin looks around, totally blown away by how amazing it is. Zhang Tingting warns him to keep his name tag safe, since it's needed for everything like entering rooms, buying things, and checking in a class, and before he goes, she adds him as a friend and lets him know he can ask her anything about school. As she waves goodbye and tells him to pick his classes wisely, Xiaolin walks away alone and finally gets it. In this place, strength is everything. He didn't waste a second. He jumped straight into picking his classes. He shouts out the order to open the course list, and suddenly a huge menu pops up showing everything from swordsmanship and archery to taijutsu and dodge. On top of history, language, and geography for the normal world, the list of choices feels too many at first, but Xiaolin reminds himself to stay focused on his required subjects, his single main combat skill, and his 3 secondary ones. So he wisely picks basic swordsmanship for its flexibility, basic taijutsu to help him survive, and basic meditation to sharpen his mind, using his scholar talent to learn faster, until a blue screen pops up confirming his choices are done. The following morning, Xiaolin walked up to the place where they learned how to use swords. He swings his sword hard against a wooden post until a system message pops up, telling him his sword skills just got better. A faint blue light glows around him as he trains harder and learns that real power comes from his waist, not his wrist, making his progress soar. Once he gets the big idea, he moves faster and his practice becomes much more focused. Not long after, his sword skills hit level 3. And he realizes he's getting twice as fast as anyone else. Not far away, another student crumbles to the floor, too tired to lift his arms any longer. As everyone watches, Instructor Chung Na sighs and admits this year's new students are even worse than she thought. Then she warns that nobody can leave until they learn how to use a sword at level 3. One student groans that signing up for her class was a total mistake and admits she's way too tough. Others chime in, noting that it usually takes at least 3 hours just to reach level 2. Amidst the noise, Shaolin shouts to Chung Na to grab her attention, tells her his sword skills have hit level 3, and asks if he can leave early. Hearing that, Chung Na stares right at him with a look of disbelief, wondering if he's just joking about her. While in the training arena, she calls for Shaolin to mock him as that lucky guy with single-digit stats who somehow reached S rank thanks to his teammates. She tells him that if he really wants to skip class, he should come up with a better excuse since she doesn't believe he climbed to level 3 that fast. Shaolin keeps his cool and says the data panel can prove it, even offering to let her check it herself. Chung Na lets out a scoff, declaring there's no point in staring at all that boring data. With a faint grin, she decides to handle things her own way, just as a red warning flashes to reveal that substitute teacher Chung Na has suddenly gained high-level powers. Blue digital codes floated through the air, causing the world around them to twist and shift in strange new ways. Suddenly, another notice pops up telling everyone the training arena is opening and to get ready. So Shaolin looks around as the field vanishes to reveal a dark, empty wasteland filled with piles of skulls and bones. Chung Na, clad in dark armor that looks like bones, tells him it's better to test things in real combat than just staring at numbers. A system message greets them, welcoming them to the all-system combat simulation arena, where they stand beside the bones of a giant creature as Chung Na explains that the Academy erased the normal world's rules and poured endless resources into building this training ground. She takes a step forward and whispers that even though he won't actually die, every bit of pain and fear he feels is real. She reveals that building this arena already drained her of many points. Then with just a wave of her hand, armored skeleton soldiers rise from the ground one by one. As skeleton soldiers crawl out of the ground, Chung Na orders the brat to test his level 3 sword skills against them, noting they're just as tough as the goblins from the entrance exam. She perches on a throne built from bones and grins at him, promising to let him skip class forever if he can clear the dungeon. Just as a heavy blade slashes toward Shaolin, he dodges at the last second, and suddenly a system interface pops up to show the mission details. The undead dungeon is now open, and he can claim victory by either surviving the next 40 minutes or wiping out 20 skeleton soldiers. Shaolin presses his lips together, realizing that cracking something this open just to test a freshman is way too extreme. Another notice pops up telling him he got a dull iron dagger, and as he grips it tighter, sweat beads on his face because he knows he must either wait for time to run out or fight his way through the whole group. He decides to fight, lunges forward, and slashes a skeleton across the neck, then calculates that he needs about 40 precise hits to take out the rest before stepping into the center of the group. Perched on her throne of bone, Chung Na watches with shock, for she never saw this coming. She thought he would freak out, say sorry, and beg her to stop everything right then. Instead, he charges straight into the fight, and as she watches, she admits his movements are solid because his footwork, strength, and attack angles all show he's been properly trained. She can't help but admit that he's better than the rest, even though his basic stats are low, yet she's amazed to see him take down 13 skeletons on his own, using only sword lessons and meditation to fix his weaknesses. And now, as the timer ticks down with 28 minutes left, his energy is fading just enough for a skeleton to sneak up and hit him in the back. Seeing this, Chung Na says it's enough and tells him to accept reality since he can't win, urging him to give up and follow her orders. But Shaolin stands firm, ready to keep going, right when a new heavy slash skill suddenly activates for him. With one mighty swing, he chops down a whole row of skeletons, bringing his total kill count to 16. Chung Na is shocked to find he suddenly has a new power, but Shaolin presses on, striking again and again until he wipes out the last of the 20 skeletons. After the last one falls, he lets out a heavy breath, looks over at Chung Na, sitting on her throne, and with a tired smile tells her he has finally met the challenge she set at the start of the class. Hearing that, Chung Na realizes that for a freshman to reach S rank, it probably wasn't just luck. Over at the Academy's student council room, a girl with green hair slides the files on the new top-ranked students across to the president. She tells him to check something odd, like a freshman's weird class list, and he's shocked to find out Shaolin is signed up for every single class there is. Inside the infirmary, the air grows thick with tension as Chung Na takes a sharp beating for how she treated a freshman. She sharply snaps back at the student president, calling him something harsh even though he's just trying to tell her that her methods are too extreme. The teacher insists she must be tougher on these freshmen because they really need proper guidance right now. In the end, their fight stalls just as the boy wakes up in the infirmary, only to learn from the student president that the simulation doesn't restore stamina. So he still needs care, but thanks to Shaolin's quick recovery, he should be back on his feet soon. Once everything was decided, the president told Chung not to step away so he could talk to the boy all by himself. The woman looks furious but obeys the command to leave, and Just as she walks out, she tells Xiao Lin one last time that she'll keep her promise and let him go early whenever he wants. She also warns him that people who train that hard with martial arts usually don't end up well. As Chung Na slams the door behind her, Xiao Lin watches her with a smile, realizing she's far more captivating than anyone else thinks. Setting that aside, the president needs to explain and asks if Xiao Lin saw the warning not to take too many physical classes like swordsmanship, movement, and taijutsu. Meditation, spells, and perception are all part of the magical lessons. Both systems open different doors for growth, and while growing two paths together can be powerful, it drains your energy as each branch splits deeper and deeper. By the time students reach their second year, keeping up with dual cultivation burns almost 7 times more energy than before. Even knowing that, Xiao Lin gets it, picturing the structure like a tree that spreads wider as it grows taller. Even though the road is tough and both methods are difficult, he refuses to quit because his own skill is the key to making it work. The president is caught off guard by the boys' confidence, and before their conversation can continue, a message from the principal arrives to approve the boys' class choices. The president walked away, promising to sort out a new schedule just right for Xiao Lin. The strangest thing is that the principal's message arrives at exactly the right moment, leaving Xiao Lin so puzzled he can't tell if the man is always watching him or if it has something to do with his own talent. As we talk about the principal, the view moves to his big office where he looks sad and let down. The spiritual heart of Dawn Academy wakes up and wonders what just went down. The principal laughs at the anime girl program, but insists she is the Academy's heart, and only a few can reach her. After a century of hanging out with that old man, the program finally decides he is just too boring to handle. She can't help but wonder why he is being so sour, especially since their brew is so strong, and they even let a student with an SS rank join. The principal says most people average 10 points, the Academy hits 20, but Xiao Lin sits low at a sad 9. He's even worse than normal, yet he somehow got special after joining, which makes it impossible for Xiao Lin to have gotten a letter with stats that bad. The computer program acts smooth and hints they might have made a mistake, but that's exactly the real problem, and a headmaster reveals that after checking the database, he found something shocking. The principal is baffled that there's no record of Xiao Lin's admission, especially since this academy has never lost a single enrollment letter among its nearly 1,400 new students. Since the virtual girl is the main control program, he asks for her insight, only for her to reveal that among the 1,360 letters, no errors were found, leading him to demand to see Xiao Lin's letter, to which she playfully refuses, telling him that even he doesn't have the authority to view that specific letter. That answer hits the old man hard, nearly giving him a heart attack because he can't believe he still can't see even one single letter despite having Academy permission. The control program double-checks and tells him that she is just as shocked as he is. The old man quietly accepts his loss and decides to leave it alone, telling her to make a backup and encrypt the admission letters instead. With that much she can do, she immediately starts encrypting all 1,359 letters so that only the highest-ranking leaders can read them. Only Xiao Lin's file is locked and marked as fully protected, while the girl realizes the principal is trying to keep people from noticing a missing letter. The principal confirms he'll be back soon, warns that no one should interfere with the boy's growth while he's gone, hands over the Academy's running to the program, and the next day, a girl screams in shock in the cafeteria when she spots Xiao Lin, the kid who's become all the rage lately. She tells him his luck is terrible because Chung Na is a complete maniac, but Xiao Lin presses on to learn if only teachers can enter the special arena, only to discover that anyone with permission like class monitors can get in and even control data, approvals, and the holographic field. For personal use, Xiao Lin can just submit his own request and use the field without waiting for approval. And after he activates student mode, his training simulation begins immediately, which surprises a senior since she expected freshmen to be rejected after a long 3-week wait. The simulation mode is a pricey luxury for seniors, costing at least 500 points. If he fails, all those points vanish, leaving Xiao Lin with nothing to lose but his 800 points, which means he must succeed to reach the top 3 and unlock the new world early. With each monitor getting a second chance after the exam, this moment might slip away forever, especially since Wang is already planning their downfall. With Xiao Yu and Wang Delin dominating Class 7, if Wang takes over as monitor, Xiao Lin is doomed to lose the simulation field forever, which means he has no choice but to get stronger. After wrapping up his chat with the senior, he heads out, leaving her to wonder how his incredible work ethic earned him the role of monitor in the first place. In the gym classroom, the students are furious that someone with terrible stats managed to become the class monitor. Liang Wei from Class 6 watches in shock as Wang Delin smashes a bottle and screams at their counselor for such a foolish decision, then mocks their teacher Qin Quan, who once struggled as a weak student, while Wang Delin's fury is fueled by the shame of being publicly rejected by Xiao Yu. His lackey, Zhe Wei, pushes to teach Xiao Lin a lesson right now instead of waiting the full 3 months. Because he's close to the senior, this guy is already plotting a scheme to hurt Xiao Lin. Xiao Lin pushes his body to the limit, grinding through harsh cardio workouts to get stronger. When the training finally ends, he packs up and heads back to the dorms, convinced that practicing every single day will help him get better fast. Just as he reaches for the door handle, it won't budge, proving someone has locked it from the outside. Inside the training ground, the sharp click of Xiao Lin's failed attempts to turn the handle echoed until he finally realized the door had been locked from the outside, and whoever did it hadn't even bothered to check if anyone was still inside. The curfew was coming closer, and he began to worry he'd have to spend the whole night inside the gym. Suddenly, another click echoed through the room and plunged everything into darkness. Suddenly, the entire room plunged into deep darkness and quiet stillness. Xiao Lin gave a nervous chuckle and told himself it was just the scheduled lights-out time. But he couldn't help but think that a school like this one didn't really need to cut the power at night. Under the pale light of a thin crescent moon, 2 students in formal uniforms walked across the academy grounds while Han Sun, a Year 2 disciplinary officer from Class 8, reported that he had caught a freshman acting class monitor breaking the rules by wandering around after curfew. Yu, the senior rep from Class 1, spoke up with a steady tone, saying that if a freshman monitor openly broke curfew, it had to be handled seriously as a warning to everyone else. With the principal away and the student council president handling bigger issues, Han Sun nodded and called him Brother Yu, reminding him that as the acting head for freshmen, he must keep order without making any mistakes. When they arrived at the training ground, Han Sun told Yu that he'd head in first to check things out. As he walked toward the door with a sly grin, he thought the new monitor must have lots of exchange points, making this a perfect chance for him to get some. But he stopped dead in the dark gym when he saw the empty machines and no sign of the student, prompting Yu to ask what was going on. Han Sun just said he thought he heard something, acting like someone might be hiding right next to him. Meanwhile, Xiao Lin stayed frozen against the dark wall, while 2 seniors searched the room. As Han Sun looked around confused, and Yu crossed his arms to point out that the door was locked from the outside. So Han Sun must have just heard wrong. Han Sun wipes the sweat from his forehead, lets out a nervous chuckle that it might be true, and suggests they move on to keep patrolling. As the pair turns to go, Han Suin's face hardens with annoyance, silently wondering where the kid ran off to, while Xiaolin sneaks away behind them and vanishes into the dark without a sound. Once outside, Xiaolin hides behind a tree and exhales slowly, realizing how dangerously close he came to getting caught in a forbidden midnight venture that feels far too convenient, leaving him to wonder if he was set up or just overthinking it. He lifts his head to gaze at the strange sight of 2 moons hanging in the sky, realizes the academy is built like the real world, and since he can't go back to training, he steps into the quiet woods to find a safe spot to rest until morning, only for a massive dark snout puffing smoke and a huge purple eye to suddenly appear before him. Xiaolin freezes as a giant purple dragon rises, its scales gleaming in the moonlight. He knows right away that it's the same dragon from the entrance ceremony, and as it spreads its massive wings with a heavy sweep and rises to tower above him, its glowing eyes stare straight at Xiaolin. Xiaolin sprints with all his might, pushing forward and refusing to halt, leaving a massive blue trail of energy blazing behind him. He glances back with sweat pouring down his face, praying the dragon isn't right behind him. So he sprints through the dark forest without stopping until he spots a building and rushes toward it. If he can get inside, he might be able to hide, so he slips through a wooden gate, finally slowing down to catch his breath, and thinks he's safe because there's no way a dragon would follow him into a place like this. Once he took a deep breath, he started looking around to figure out where he had landed. It looked like a garden, but the giant weird plants made everything feel all wrong. Standing right next to him was a cabbage so huge it towered over his head, making him wonder if it could really be called a cabbage anymore. As he stepped deeper, he spotted a bush heavy with glowing red fruit, its sweet scent making him wonder if it was safe to eat. His eyes then turned to a big blackbird nearby that looked just like a rooster. As he stared at it, he couldn't help but imagine a perfectly golden brown beggar's chicken, and the sight of its plump shape made his mouth water. Suddenly, the bird let out a sharp cluck, its eye glowing faintly red as it locked onto him. Without warning, the creature shot into the air and lunged at him, but Xiaolin barely dodged its fiery breath. Right as the bird zipped by, a hand snapped out and clamped around its neck, stopping all its squawking instantly. Xiaolin gasped for air as he looked up to see a calm man in a white robe easily holding the struggling bird, who then asked who he was, what class he belonged to, why he was wandering at night, and why he was sneaking in to chase his chickens.